Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, joined by Baker. How are you?
Oh, mate, what a week. I don't know why it doesn't hurt more, because it should hurt. Like, this is bad, but I don't feel like it hurts. I don't feel like it hurts that much. It feels just...
Wait, you had some emotion yesterday, though. That's why. That's just keeping you afloat. I'm just like...
It may...
I think it is.
Maybe Spurs.
Maybe
going to Spurs might have kept it okay. But I did just keep shaking my head. I was like, I think last night I had about 15 points, and then I thought, well, now all I'm relying on is Chelsea and Arsenal assets to get me out of it. Great.
Cheers, thanks for that. That's exactly
what
I need.
Doesn't start, and Nico Jackson does what Nico Jackson. I mean, God, Nico Jackson.
Yeah, just bad, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah,
he's special. He's making Timo Werner look good at the moment.
No points. No points.
No points at all. Oh, I've just realised I haven't docked the chat into OBS. That's a pain in the arse. Things are just pissing me off now, just generally speaking. Points pissing me off. My ear is still hurting, pissing me off. All sorts of stuff.
Adam starting angry.
Oh, I just hate this game. I was happy to wildcard last week, and this is where I don't like having you as a soundboard, because not that you taught me into stuff, but you put different points across that makes me think. And then when I start to overthink, I then start thinking that maybe I'm making the wrong decision. And not that it was a problem not wildcarding, but then when the outcome comes this way and you go, well, I was there. Like I was kind of there, and then I was kind of talked off the ledge. And I'm not blaming you, obviously. I'm owning the decision.
Oh, you can blame me. It's fine.
You prick. No. I'm joking.
Thing is, when we were looking in Discord at Steve and on our wild card, we were looking at it, I was like, that's pretty good. Pretty good. I think it does sit there as a nice one. I think this week, for those that have had bad weeks, I think you look at your teams and you go, like, how many of these players do I hate? That's genuinely where I'm at the moment, is that there's a lot of players that I look at and think, I don't like you. And is that enough for me to press the button? Hey, we're going to have this chat tonight. I suspect it is. expect it is enough for me to press the button this week. I've also, when I was looking last week at, which week do I think I'll wildcard? I don't think there's huge swings of gain from week to week to week to week over the next 6-7 weeks. So I think it all is the old team dependent, but I think you look at your own one and work it out. Like if you've got Haaland and Alvarez front line already, if you've got if you've already got Salah, then you're definitely not wildcarding.
If you've got one or two transfers, if you've got one or two transfers to get you to get rid of those defenders and get the Newcastle in. I just didn't want to be in the position where I was like, can I watch Newcastle get cleans and then after 3 weeks go, I'll get on them now and then try and gain some benefit and then be like, well, cool. Now I've got like 2 weeks left of this when I should have done when I should have done it game week 5 and just got everything, half an XG, like half an again, like they were so good defensively. They had that one big chance, but really,
I do think they were there. We'll talk about it. I do think they were there for the taking because there was some, Wissa air kicked one that would have been a big XG chance, and that would have been, that they still were a little. They weren't great going forward. That's probably the bit that I thought took away with Newcastle, and then I thought, maybe that's what they're going to do though. Maybe because they got all these Champions League games, they're just going to grind it. And seeing Botman, like, he was unlucky to get an assist, but obviously then he gets the big chance created, which made him have really good good baseline. And then you look at Trippier and look at Sheff. Like, there's got to be some people that wildcard and put all three at the back, and you're like, wowzers, what a team that is this week. So let's, for full disclosure, you've pressed the button already?
Oh, buttons there, mate. Like it's there. You can see it. Active chip wildcard. It's there. It's done. It's done. I've already made a team. It's already good.
But I have done a quick draft. I have looked at a few things.
Fucked off Chelsea straight away.
Yeah.
Just before we carry on, I asked everyone to retweet the tweet because giving away some mugs, or a mug at the moment, but got these new mugs, so they're quite nice. If you want one of these, retweet.
We're getting stuff.
We're getting stuff.
We like it.
Retweet the tweet that I've already put in here. I'll put it in the chat again. And if you retweet that tweet, then we'll do a little giveaway later on. We'll draw 1, 2, or 3 people, depending on how generous we're feeling and how good you guys have been in the chat. And as long as you don't have over 50 points, I think that's a caveat. No, that's a bit too harsh.
We celebrate everyone that's got points through really gritted teeth.
Absolutely. Let's go on to our scores, mate. Let's get it over and done with. Rip the Band-Aid off. So
29 points I've got.
That's it. That's
both got Turner to play. Potential. Yeah, even that. If Turner don't play, it's not like we get any points off the back of that, is it? Everyone's going to get. No one's keeper returned again.
Yeah. Cool.
There was
a minute we were looking at Pickford nervously, weren't we?
Yeah, I was looking at it thinking he might actually get away as well. I'd have been quite happy if he did. But yeah, Anana, Pickford, people with Areola. Obviously, Areola got 10 saves, which is incredible. But Ederson was pretty good in goal himself, but still gets no points. Flecken get no points. Leno owners were the people that won for the weekend. So
yeah, I still think fine if you had him, then okay. But I still don't like that pick going forward. Like, it's Luton.
Nah. Yeah. Well, we'll come to that. About there's some probably repercussions there about how, and I think that plays into wildcard a bit more. I think most people on wildcard might avoid Morris now, which makes me more inclined to do it. It is
depends how much you want to make a transfer in game week 8, I guess. Well, okay, if you're wildcarding now, if you don't want to make a transfer in game week 8, I think you could have Morris in wildcard and you can go Morris to Archer in game week 9, and I think in game week 8, and then I think he's got like Fulham in game week 8 or something like that. So that's an option, definitely an option.
Yeah, you could do free up top as well if you haven't spent all the money.
Yeah.
And have Alvarez and Haaland but it's bad. And obviously triple Spurs, which did not play out well.
No. So big fat red for you, big fat red for me, and 36 points. I've still got Turner to go, as you say. So when you said when you said in WhatsApp that I would be pissed off if I'd picked the Chelsea defender that cleaned, and if Chelsea cleaned and I had one of them on the bench and one of them on the pitch, that I'd be pissed off. Yeah. How the hell have I got Colwill on the bench and Chilwell on the pitch? Like what the hell? Pochettino, you prick, honestly, because I just don't get it. I just don't get that at all. Like, Mudrik's a horrible player.
I don't get. Well, what we do know with Chilwell, so is that Pochettino at the end of the game said that him and Thiago Silva had a go at them because they were too adventurous for the fullback.
Nah, that's bullshit, isn't it?
What? So that means Chilwell's never playing left back again.
Yeah.
And Cucurella was ill, so I think if anything, Cucurella might be the other option for it. But we now know, we talked about it last week that Chilwell is a left winger now, not a left back, and you should treat him as that. Don't think it's wing backs. He is the left winger, and he's competing with Mudryk, and we'll continually see limited minutes. But guess what? We saw really limited minutes in that he only played the last 15.
Yeah.
Because eventually, if you've got a guy that's going to play left wing, and actually his attacking returns are not great. He looks really threatening, but his actual attacking returns have never been, exceptional.
No, obviously, if we did jump on the back of the Luton game for Chelsea, but had he actually scored that goal, I think there'd be a lot less panic and stress about it, because he'd have walked out of that with like a 15-pointer and everyone would have been like, cool, yeah, Chilwell, good pick, perfect, 15 points.
If you didn't wildcard next week now, and you were starting one of them, would you start Colwill or Chilwell?
Probably Colwill.
Yeah.
So that's
just a problem in itself, isn't it? So there's a problem for us.
Saliba obviously got me a clean, Saka with an assist. Boomer nothing. Didn't really expect loads from him this week, but that's fine. Bruno nothing. Okay. Son was disappointing. Foden, Haaland. And the one I was most pissed off about not starting, João Pedro, the cheeky bastard, come in with 7 points, despite not starting the game. And I was frustrated when he didn't start, because I was going to play Colwill.
The finish from João Pedro
was great finish.
Sensational. Run across your body, open your body, side foot, like that's the dream.
Yeah.
And he could have easily had an assist as well. To Matoma near the end. So that's what helped him with the bonus. He had a big chance to create as well. So yeah. Well played. João Pedro, Salah, Alvarez Nunes. I think that's the thing on this week. I know everyone's going to say it's good week to have a bad week and all of those type of things. But when you look at your team, you just look at it and think, going forward, is my team hitting the expectation of where I would expect it to be? Continually, it's not. I play back the decision. Even the fact that I looked at, when it was Foden and Jackson, I went Foden and Jackson over Sterling and Alvarez, and God, if that two were switched around, that would have been a lot of different points. And you just think, we've seen enough now to know if you've got the wrong assets. And I think I've got too many wrong assets. So I'm fully expecting that I have to make changes.
Yeah, I just don't like a lot of my team. I mean, I'm talking about the number of changes I've made. Just rage doing it at about 4:00 this afternoon. When I saw that Chilwell wasn't starting. I think, how many have I got survived? 1, 2, 3 players have survived. 4. Cabore's actually survived, but I just couldn't find.
Cabore has to survive. Cabore and Archer. Cabore, Archer.
No, but Archer hadn't survived. I got Edouard in there at the moment, but that can obviously that's just an instant first draft, just to.
Well, we'll do some talks about games, and we can talk about the players that we want to get rid of. But I think more than anything, little Beatty on the old thumbnail with Mr. Ten Hag and the words "time to go." But I think this is, if you're looking at wildcard, it genuinely, this is one of those wild cards where there's a lot of players that you want to get rid of. Do I think this is a wild card where there's a lot of players that are obvious to jump onto? I'm not 100% sure. It's not a perfect storm, this one, where there's, really obvious, get rid of them, get these people in. But there's definitely some red flags where you're like, I've got to get them gone.
Yeah. So just a bit of perspective from people thinking about this wild card. For me in particular, thinking, should I have wild carded game week 5? I think what we saw was that mainly if you had one of 3 things or 2 of 3 things, that your points were okay this week, actually. So if you had a piece of the Newcastle defence, if you had Salah, if you had Alvarez, actually you had a pretty decent week. And I think that's where we're going to find most of the people with, above the safety score are going to have some sort of combination of those. Maybe even some captain Salah as well. There's a few out there for sure.
There is.
About 4% of both the top 10k and overall actually hit that button. And in terms of the top 10k, I mean, total points from a no chip was 41.75 average and 41.94 for wildcard. So basically no difference. And it's only a couple of points difference on the overall. So really, this game week at least, it hasn't made a difference. Probably better set up for next week, but we don't know what everyone's wildcard teams look like. I think you were saying earlier, you think that probably on those wildcard, the standard deviation from that 41 is likely a lot smaller because we're not going to get so many that are on 5, 10, 15 pointers and all those shitters and stuff. So yeah, it's, going to be squeezed a little bit, but there will be a few exceptional ones.
There's madness out there. There's plenty of people on mid-20s and there's people on 50, 60 plus, and well played if you have. But what are we doing?
Games. So first game today is going to be West Ham versus Man City. Let's start there. Let's start with Manchester City. Because
do we have to fess up immediately that we're really, really lucky as sun cappers?
I think there's an element of that. Seeing as Haaland, like Haaland put up the same XG as Spurs, like literally the whole team.
I mean,
and you talked about Areola making 10 saves. I mean, he was absolutely he missed a couple of them. He missed a couple of them, but Areola made a couple of big saves as well from him and from Diaz and from Rodri as well. I think maybe had one.
Yeah, I mean, Areola's like first thing on your wild card, and you just have to get him in.
Yeah.
He's straight in. Haaland is just relentless. We talked about it on the pod on Thursday that everything is funneling his way because there's less people in the box. And that's what happened, that we've got 4 attackers effectively at any point. Once Silva became one of those 4 attackers, as happened as soon as Foden came off, you saw, I mean, that's a really big worry as well, is that he was great. Foden, Silva, sorry, when he took more of that position than Foden was playing. Alvarez, look, you could say that the points he got was pretty fortunate in terms of the assists that he get. That's the thing of this week. That is the thing. We've got assists all over the place from Salah. We've got assists from Alvarez. It's not easy to predict assists from attackers.
Yeah.
It really isn't. But those have made the massive difference. And if he's getting to it, if he gets 2 assists every game, he's getting a baseline around about 10. He's always then in the bonus conversation. Like Alvarez is getting 10 points without even scoring quite regularly. He's phenomenal. Doku showed ridiculous pace down that left-hand side. And Alvarez will get a lot of free assists to Doku like he did there. That won't be the first time that happens, because he's the man that's in that position to push the ball left. He's in that left 10 type position. He'll push it wide. Doku will cut in. Doku will shoot.
Yeah, and he's almost like a direct Grealish in that sense.
Yeah.
He's like what we wanted Grealish to be last season, but wasn't in that sense.
And if
he'll find it difficult to come back in if he's going to continue to. Well, obviously they're going to need to rotate through Champions League once Grealish is back fit, but that'll be just an opportunity for him to do so.
Like, it feels like the most obvious transfer in the world for people not on Wildcard to do Nico Jackson to Julian Alvarez this week. You've got a really weird situation at the Champions League game, and it's probably going to be a 0.2, 0.3 swing that, which is another thing that with Wildcard, I'm thinking I can make that move really, really quickly, and then worry about it later. But that is part of the risk. Is we could be bringing in. We're all going to bring in Alvarez from Wildcard, and we could get a leak at about midday saying Alvarez isn't playing, and then it's like, well, what do I do now? And I suspect it's we go to an Edouard or a Morris and come back later. But yeah, we got lucky. We got really lucky with the outcome from the capping sun, because Haaland he just could have easily had 3 or 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eek.
Yeah, it was eek is about right. And do we need to start paying? Do we need to keep an eye on Ward-Prowse now? Like, because like we knew he was a good asset that sort of ticked over at Southampton, but he's not playing alongside bloody Stuart Armstrong and shit anymore. Like he's got Lucas Paqueta sitting alongside him. It just gives him
in the same positions either. Like there's so many like vibe signs, him overlapping, doing a diving header, and then doing the irons sign.
Yeah.
When he scored, like I was like, wow.
Yeah. There's like, I know.
The iron sign was, I was like, wow, that's a big, it is stupid, but that's the big deal of what I would take from his Ward-Prowse and asset. And the delivery from set pieces was superb.
Yeah.
Just,
when you're firing him in at Zuma and Antonio and all this sort of stuff, he's going to just tick, isn't he? Again. But I think he's going to.
Yeah.
Just think, there's any kind of fixtures that there's any
game
kind
week
of fixtures.
10. Game week 10. You've got Everton at home, then Brentford, then Forest, then Burnley, then Palace.
Yeah.
Game week 10. We'll see some movement. Ward-Prowse
game week 10.
There you go. But yeah, no other takeaways other than it is so difficult to sell these players if you find out they're going to play in that Forest game. But on Wildcard, it's just the 2 up top.
Yeah,
for me.
Yep, fair enough. Agreed. Wolves versus Liverpool.
That's the first, isn't it? I mean, fair play, Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I saw you said that in your tweet yesterday as well.
Because to not only double down, so to make a big change at halftime, because they were lucky to only be 1-0 down. They really were lucky to only be 1-0 down. If Kuna could finish, then that game could have been just miles away from him. Neto was just continually playing exceptional football. He is fully on it, but I think all the time that he's providing big chances to the likes of Kuna, and it still becomes difficult because they're just not going to score enough goals. But to make a big change, take McAllister off, say you're the guy that's struggling following the international games, and then even when Gakpo scores, he takes him off immediately.
Yeah.
And makes that double swap. And then once Darwin's on the pitch, they were toast. Darwin just ripped them apart.
Yeah.
I don't know how he plays it going forward. It's still a difficult call of who he puts in, but boy, they're just a much better team once Darwin's in there.
But I mean, does he have the? I mean, right now, obviously, he had. They were saying muscular problems when he went out to Bielsa was saying. when he went out to international duty. So can he do that for 90 minutes? I mean, or does Klopp just use him as a weapon off the bench, like continuously to batter teams down when they're tired? Because that's as viable anyway. And he can get his minutes in the Europa League anyway, can't he?
It's definitely as viable. Definitely as viable. So, yeah, I still think we're going to have messing around with it. The one you're not messing around with is Mo.
Yeah.
And look, Mo is not shooting as much. He's not getting anywhere near the XG that would make us really happy for him to be.
Well, just not a captain option, at least. Well,
I think we will captain him, because the thing with Mo is he's not doing anything bad either. Like, he's never going to be the one that's getting the booking for descent that we're seeing everyone else get. Like, he doesn't. The only time he ever gets booked is because he scored and taken his shirt off and wants to show us his ridiculous physique. Like, and then, yeah, okay. But he's playing all the minutes for a team that is relentless. There's loads of injury time, and so stuff happens. He's really wide and isolated, but he's good at passing. He's been good at passing for a little while now, a couple of seasons now, and he will score some goals. He will score some goals. Like, it's not going to be like Mo's going to go, do you know what? I'm just going to pass now. He will score some goals. Those that haven't got him, we're getting away with the fact that he's not scoring loads, because it will come. There was a few times where there was bundles around in the box and it almost fell for him, but it will come. And if he's already getting assists, his baseline's better than it normally is. Yeah, it's just an unbelievably solid asset. Any temptation on Robbo? Our friend Robbo, friend of the podcast.
Friend of the world. Didn't you call him the worst human in the world?
I might have called him the worst human on earth, but look, as a player, he was much more. I don't know whether it's because it's got the captain's armband or the like, but he was much more driven to get forward. I know the goal is just like, that's a freak occurrence, is that he's standing on the halfway line as the only man back from a set piece. It comes out to him, he knocks it in and he runs on. But he is a mentality monster. I mean, you just look at his face on YouTube right now.
Well, he obviously kicked the ball. He kicked the ball straight to Bellingham in midweek as well, which gave him a bit of additional anger.
Yeah, it's just
I can't see it. I mean, I can't see it for me. Not now anyway. Maybe I could see. Maybe you could see something in like Game Week 9 when City's fixtures get more difficult and you free up money perhaps in the front line and you go from Alvarez down to I don't know,
Trippier.
somewhere. Or Trippier. Yeah, Trippier, when you got Game Week 11 at Arsenal and then Chelsea and United in 13, 14, Spurs in 16. Yeah. You could do it then, and I mean, I think if you're double tripled up on Newcastle defense or whatever, then yeah, easy. You can do that. You can just go straight to him.
It's still tough getting that money, even on wildcards.
I just don't feel confident about him.
So expensive.
Yeah, well, he definitely doesn't have the attacking. He's obviously scored. He doesn't have the attacking threat that he had in those seasons with Trent and Mane and Salah and blah blah blah. They're not doing the big sweeping left to right that they did before. So
yeah.
Like he has to clean. He has to clean.
Yeah. And he has to do he has to take up the positions that he took up on the weekend when Trent's also playing.
Yes.
Because it felt like, because there's no Trent, I'm going to push forward a lot more, and it all becomes more of a free at the back with Gomez type space, whereas you want to see him, but he was definitely keener to get that overlap out on the left. And maybe as well, because it was Jota, there's that as well. At the start is that, he's not so much the winger. Maybe when it's Diaz, maybe when it's there, like, it's still a lot of mucking around. The one that is Salah. If you're wildcarding, you just got to get Salah in.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And as we're saying now, we're moving on to Man United versus Brighton. So that was 3-1 to Brighton. And you said it last Sunday. You were like, Man U should be scared. And I just didn't feel like. I mean, it looks like United had chances here, but they didn't really feel like they were much in the game, to be honest. And it's weird because like Brighton turn up with bloody Welbeck and Lallana and Adringa and just turn up like a completely different front four than I expected to see. Bar obviously
Yeah.
Mitoma. Like Mitoma's like the ever present, he will be there type guy. But he's obviously like the Ferguson thing. He clearly wasn't 100% like to play 90. So you know, obviously brought him on late. But yeah, and obviously didn't even play in this game either.
No, we were like, well, March should be the banker. He's the one on that. And then he doesn't play. I think, you know, from this weekend, look, Klopp did something. He made it happen for that. De Zerbi this weekend, he changed a load of players, but somehow gets a tune out of them in the position of like playing Tariq Lamptey at left wing back because the Stupiñans just come back from long international. You're like, team buys in, team knows what's doing. They've planned for it. They do it. It's great. You know, we obviously had our situation, but when we talk about Tottenham game, but the decision to take Kulusevski and put him as the right 8 ended up being the match-winning decision. When most fans, including myself, was really hoping they'd take Kulusevski off. Man City made some changes, did the right things. You know, Silva out to the right and instead of Foden, won the game. You know, I'm sure Man City probably would have won the game anyway. But we saw lots of really good things. Obviously, Emery. You know, at the end of the game, they were 1-0 down, ended up winning 3-1. There's lots of really good things that are happening for managers where there's lots of feel-good parts of the club. What I'm seeing from Ten Hag, and look, the time to go is a lot about the players, but I genuinely do not have faith in Ten Hag in how he's speaking. And the reason I don't is I feel like it's always not his fault. And I feel like that's a really bad position to play in. I don't see that I'm thinking he's working out how people should play. Rashford, for example. Rashford was the best player in attack for them. But Rashford is not pressing. And you can't give Brighton loads of time on the ball.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Like, he was such a liability in the defensive work he was doing that it always meant they had players, and then the rest of the team couldn't catch up because he wasn't pressing. And you're like, just do something about that. Yeah. Højlund obviously made a difference, was great, but then he takes it, like, take him off early and say, oh, we can't make the. It's just, all a bit meh. Their fixtures now are great. Like, they have to start winning. But I'm just not convinced they want to run for him. I'm just not convinced they run for him. And when you watch Brighton and you watch what he's doing with the team there, mate, they will do anything for De Zerbi. They will do absolutely anything. They'll play whatever system. You know, Pascal Gross, mate, what a ridiculous player he is. And he's played literally anywhere for them. And even he plays like 3-4 different positions in a game, and he'll go and do it, and he'll do it all brilliantly. I mean, the way he sold Lissandro for that goal, like, he made him look stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very good, I think, me and you, I should say, of bringing this back to how Tottenham kind of relates to it. But it's got very much like Conte Mourinho vibes all over it. It's just got that, it's not me, it's this player, it's the players, it's the club. Look, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really bad stuff going on at United at the moment. It's a bit of a travelling circus. But his job is to, you know, take that noise and create an environment where they can go out and still play football. And if they can't do that at home, that's terrible. I mean, they might do better away. They may even do better away from home. I think they will, because
their away fans is like, Man United away fans are like the best away fans in the world. They are just unbelievable how noisy, how great they are. So I do expect them to do that. I do expect that they need that push for him. Bruno, like, I don't know what they're doing with him. I thought it looked like we're going for like Man United decided we're going to do a diamond against Brighton. If I said to you, who's a player you're really scared about when you play Brighton? It's Matoma. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you would do with your midfield, would it be play a diamond and therefore have no width?
No.
Like that. It's genuinely.
They just left him exposed. They left Dalot completely exposed.
It's there's nothing in anyone's brain that says that was a good decision to make. Yeah. And I know everyone's going to say, well, I haven't got all the... Mate, look at the team that Brighton stuck out. Look at it. Like, he's not trying to make the best of the situation. He's trying to be pissed. And I get that he's pissed. I get that he probably feels let down, but that's not helping this club week in, week out right now. And that was just a silly decision. And then Bruno just worked so hard, like that the Fatty chance at the end.
Yeah.
Bruno was so close to getting a red card for taking him out.
Yeah.
And you know, I think if it was 2-1 at that point, he probably would have. But it's imagine, why is Bruno chasing the man through the through ball? Like, it's just it's not right. Like, we used to think, oh well, Bruno in the last 10 minutes he'll go up front. Well, now he's going centre back. Now he's going right back.
He's going everywhere. He can't carry that on his shoulders. And if he's going to have to carry that, then he's the quickest transfer out you'll ever make.
It's tough. It's tough because I believe in the players. I believe in Rashford. I believe in Bruno. I think they're brilliant assets. I think they're brilliant players. I just can't take the way they were. And if I was to go on one, though, it'd have to be Rashford, just because of he looked sharp.
Yeah.
Very unlucky not to haul. I don't even know if that one actually was out of play, or not. You see some weird angles sometimes, don't you? But I was like, not sure.
Yeah. You just have to take whatever they say at face value. There, you don't really get you don't really get it. You don't have the perspective. But yeah, no, he could have had a thing there. And I was saying even before the game week started, I just wonder whether there's no data to support it, but Højlund could be interesting if they get going.
Oh, yeah,
he's going to be important, and he's going to slip under radars, as well. So he could be.
I don't know. We're crying out for any old striker, mate. Look what we did. We brought in Nico Jackson, mate.
Yes, it's true.
I
was just holding on to João Pedro for just desperation, just hoping that he gets some minutes.
He's getting points.
He's getting points. Good finish, as you said earlier.
Yeah, I'm not. I think I will try and have Rashford on wildcards still, and that's another reason I've got Bruno, and I definitely want Rashford.
Would you take any Brighton at the moment, or would you look to plan to transfer them in?
I'm not against it. Matoma against Bournemouth, I am not against it at all. I think we have to see. They got Europe this week. I'm assuming they have got Europe on Thursday. Yeah. So I very much would like to see that team.
They've got, who are they playing? AEK Athens at home.
Yeah. I'm definitely not against it.
Home's good. But I mean, yeah. Then they've got Marseille. They've got is it Marseille? No, is it Marseille? It must be Marseille. Marseille away, and then Liverpool at home, then international break, then City away, and then Ajax at home.
Yeah.
Then they've got Fulham after that. It's like
it's tough, isn't it? They've got Liverpool obviously in 8 and City in 9 and all those type of games. It's a tough one. If you did it, you'd have to be thinking this is a 1 week punt.
Yeah. Cool. How's the whiskey going down?
Yeah, it's going down well. It's way too big a glass of whiskey, but
it is way too big. Well, before we move on to the next one, I'm just gonna you couldn't go and get some, but I'm gonna have a sip of Fireball because it's that kind of week. In my above average mug, because
how many games have we won? 2 games?
I don't know.
3 games?
3 games.
3 games.
3 games. I think it's enough.
Timing.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Out of that mug. Is that the mug that's going to go out to someone as a prize as well?
That is. God,
I don't
remember the
crystallization.
I don't remember that. Oh,
that's memories.
Big memories from that one. Yeah, so Newcastle Brentford next is where we want to go.
Newcastle Brentford. Brentford didn't create a lot, did they? Really?
Not really, no. But you say, I mean, if you got some, I mean, you can always put it down to like people missing the ball and then saying, "Oh, cool, well, that's not going to be counted in this," which is fine. You need
Offsides
to,
and
yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah,
You're always going to get bits and bobs that accumulate to that. But Newcastle didn't create much either. Like they had a lot of the ball and they controlled the game, I felt, but they didn't really do much else. I mean, like honestly, Blecken. It's probably the stupidest decision I've seen all weekend from a player.
Do you think it's a red card? No, red card. Sorry. Do you think it's a penalty?
Yeah, I think it's a penalty. I think it's an avoidable collision. Like, I don't think it's an unavoidable collision. I don't think there's a shot or anything like that. I think he's who is it? Hickey miscontrolled it. Absolutely no reason to come out and do that. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. Like, he's outside the 6-yard box. Like, if he's inside the 6-yard box, okay, come and block it off. But like, what are you gaining by being all the way out there? Like, it's definitely a penalty in my book. It's the stupidest decision made by a player all weekend, and it was a ridiculously good penalty.
Such a good penalty. Did you hear afterwards? He said, "Like, I've been practicing waiting for my next penalty, and now, and it made me the way he talked about it made me think that even if Isaac was on the pitch,
he'd have taken it.
Big Daddy Wilson. Yeah, just the way he spoke about it. I'm sure Isaac probably would have felt the opposite, that he wants it too. But
do we know if Isaac had any issues international duty, or was it just a case of like, we've got a big game in a week against going out to Milan, and
maybe, as you said, you called it, mate. Maybe Wilson's just going to play the weekends.
Maybe because he's good enough to be the front man for these games. Like, Sheffield United at home, Sheffield United away, Burnley home, West Ham away, Palace at home, Wolves away. Like, he can do those. Game week 11, they can figure out what the hell they want in game week 11, which is after the Carling Cup, so they probably won't be in it if City beat them, so it won't matter. Yeah. But then they'll go away to Dortmund after that. I mean, they can figure that out then. But for the next few weeks, I mean, just getting points and goals on the board. He wasn't fantastic outside of his penalty. He wasn't incredible outside of his penalty, but
he never has been.
No, but this was the toughest fixture that they've got in the next 4. So
he never has been. He's a moments player, but I thought they were pretty lucky to get the disallowed goal. Chalked off. I didn't think that was particularly harsh, Wilson on Flecken. So if
you think he should have had that one as well?
I don't think it's a big hole.
No, that's
fair. It is a bit protect the keeper piece.
Yeah,
it
was definitely weak from Flecken again. But no, I can see that.
He's just there where you want him to be. I do think we might see this is we've talked before about Wilson and Miggy don't play particularly well together.
Yeah.
And interesting, obviously Gordon plays right wing. Wouldn't surprise me if you do Miggy and Isak in
so Leo
Gordon and Wilson.
Leo is good 1, 2, 3. Says Eddie Howe came out and said that Isak is prioritising to play the Champions League games and Wilson to play in the Premier League games. Just wondering if you got that source, if you can just drop that source in there so I can see that video. Because if you've got that video, I'm on Wildcard and I'll just bring him in. Fucking bring him in. Because I want why would you not have a piece of the attack when they've got Sheffield United and Burnley next 2 games? Like, it's all very well getting 6 points for defenders, or 6 or 8 points for defenders, but give me the striker as well. That'd be great.
I mean, Botman's as easy as it gets and
he's never dropping now. Like, he's never dropping now. No chance.
But because he's the one that can play every week. Fabian Schär, you're not 100% sure if he can play every week, but it feels wrong if you don't find 2 of them. Dan Burn, I'd be a little worried about, just with, you've got Target, you've got Hall and all the rest of it. It's still difficult getting Trippier in the team, I find, on Wildcard, just my first initial draft. So I was like...
Just wanting Salah?
As soon as you got Salah, as soon as you got... obviously Haaland's in there as well. It ain't easy.
If you got two, then you're covered anyway, right? You could probably just go Schär and Pope.
Yeah, I was watching
Share
this.
Pope Wilson.
Yeah. Well, Botman. You got to have Botman.
Sorry,
He's
yeah,
just so
Botman Pope
cheap.
Wilson. Botman Pope Wilson. Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. That's actually what I meant.
Or Botman Share Wilson.
Nah, Pope. Nah.
You like the Pope?
Just don't fuck about with the keeper. There's lots of like, I'm going to rotate this guy. I'm going to get Trafford in for game week 7. I'm going to do this for this. No, fuck off. Just get Pope in. Sheffield United, Burnley, West Ham Palace, Wolves, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea take you to game week 13, and you can pick a keeper that will work in the other fixtures.
They'll be up. I mean, Trippier put 12 crosses in.
That's a lot.
Only 2 key passes, but 12 crosses is still a lot. Like this weekend shows you that having the players that get you the tickets in the raffle is really important. Having Alvarez playing every week for Man City is tickets in the raffle. Having Salah, who gets a return of some kind every single game, is tickets in the raffle. Having Trippier, who makes 12 crosses every week, is tickets in the raffle.
Yeah.
So do I feel that they were lucky, the people that got more points than me this week? No. I feel that my team just didn't get enough points because I didn't have enough tickets in the raffle.
Yeah. And then, so from a Brentford point of view, we're just saying, if you've got Bumo's good. If you've got Wissa, get Alvarez. But like Bumo's fine. I mean, like Everton and Forest are the next 2, then United and then Burnley. No issues whatsoever. Just get him in. If you're on wildcard,
you've got
him.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Cool. I don't think this game's going to take too long. Bournemouth versus Chelsea. I watched bits of this game.
It's wide open though, wasn't it? At all times, it felt wide open. Neither team were particularly good at closing the other one down. Every time anyone got into the other person's half, you thought they're going to score here. So it's 0-0, and the graph shows this is a pretty okay game. Like over 3 XG between them. But teams without great scorers. I thought Sanchez was really good for Chelsea. He's definitely, if you were thinking about the cheaper keepers, I can't see a world where he's not the number 1 forever. And Pochettino's comments, what I would say around saying, hey, I want the fullbacks to not be attacking. I'm like, well, this could be decent. This could be decent if you're Sanchez, because he's getting all his passes in. His baseline was fantastic. And I thought he played really well. Sanchez is solid. The rest of the team, I felt fear not owning Sterling today. That's a positive if it was Sterling, but I do think he's having to just do so much for them. And then Nico is just unbelievably raw. Raw's the way I can talk about him in a positive way, but he does things on the pitch that make you wince.
Yeah.
If you own him, they make you wince and they make you laugh. And if you don't own him, they make you laugh a lot.
I do enjoy not having him. Timo Werner vibes.
And he's now on 4 yellows.
Yeah, he just gets booked all the time as well.
I mean, anyone who does keep him this week, he then gets booked next week. Morrison for game week 7.
Yeah, it's going to be an exodus to him, definitely.
Yeah. We've talked about him at the start, mate. Other than that,
we're not talking about Bournemouth at all, are we?
Not really. I thought Solanke's useful. I think all the players are useful, but I don't think this is the season where we can muck about.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Let's move on then. Arsenal versus Everton. And you'll see, if you're looking on screen, that because you should be looking on screen, because this is not a podcast, this is live, obviously, that next is the wheel. But it's not actually going to be the wheel, because I can't do I can't put all of everyone's names in the wheel. That's just way too many names. So
you're just going to say his one.
No. I've got a thing to do a retweet picker, so we can do that. That's not a problem. But
you're a magician, mate.
You
know more than me.
I'm on top of it.
What do you think?
I thought Everton were pretty rubbish. But it's the first challenge. Look, it's the first difficult game they've had to face so far this season, and it showed. I think that I'm going to hate saying this, but I think that first goal shouldn't have been chalked off. Like, I can't see a world where a centre back playing a square ball that deflects off a defender becomes a deliberate action. I don't know. He passed the ball sideways.
It just felt wrong.
It
was
was
one
really
of those
weird.
where, because of the way it's done as well, because the weird camera angle and the weird late light showing and none of the build-up place, where it just immediately feels conspiracy. Immediately feels like underdog conspiracy theory. That is. I felt like a lot of games have felt that way when I'm watching them. I really felt like that in that first half of the Sheffield United Tottenham game. You were like, this is one of those weird underdog games where they're just trying to be annoying, the officials. And I felt like that was a strange one. That was really strange. And then Martinelli gets injured, and then Trossard comes on, and Trossard, when he comes on, just hogs everything.
Yeah.
Just hogs everything. It's everywhere.
I was saying he's much
everywhere.
much like Solomon, but just with a bit of end product this week.
It's like a really good Solomon. Yeah. But he, if you own other players in Arsenal, once you suddenly know Trossard's playing, you're like, I haven't seen after the game as to how bad Martinelli is and what that means for him. But
sure someone in the chat will help us out with that one. If anyone heard,
I see Mike's in the chat. Seen a few others in there that might be able to tell us. If you do know, drop us in. Mike owns Martinelli, but yeah, it's not quite far in. David Raya, mate, 1 save, 2 bonus.
It's back
against Everton.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, he's gonna be busier. He's definitely gonna be busier. I don't know. You kind of just wish he was. Well, I mean, from a Tottenham perspective, you don't. But from an FPL perspective, you kind of just wish that he'd had these fixtures before, rather than having Tottenham and then having City and then Chelsea and then Newcastle. I mean, fine, game week 10 looks good, but if you're wildcarding around, like if you're wildcarding like game week 10, like you could go there. Is he 5 million this year though?
4.8 years now. He's taken 2 drops.
He's taken 2 drops. He's
so cheap. David Wright at 4.8 is so unbelievably cheap. The issue is the next 3 fixtures are not ideal.
No.
But we've seen him in games before, like especially if they're score draws or even losses and wins at Brentford, like it can end up with 30 points without on the baseline without a clean sheet. He's that good on it. I'll definitely be looking at whether he's a way I could get into that Arsenal defence, because he's now the cheapest.
Yeah.
I thought if money was no option and you were looking at them today, Ben White was the one I'd want. I thought he was really good. So much better at right back. Zinchenko is obviously great, but you just don't know how much you can trust the legs. And as soon as you get in Europe, but and obviously Saliba is a bit more expensive. 5.2 is a bit much, especially if you've got a keeper that's going to outdo him every time. If the centre backs are not offering the goal threat and the keeper's going to finish above them every time, they become a little bit worse as assets. We don't know, obviously, the Raya and Ramsdale, they said they were going to play loads of minutes and all that stuff. But we do know, we've said it every week on this, they just need to put Raya in. They'll start keeping clean sheets, and they put Raya in, they kept a clean sheet. Like, it isn't really that magical a formula. He's a better keeper. So they'll get him in eventually, and he'll get it and he'll stay with it. And because your second keeper is likely to be a playing keeper well, we don't know about Turner and whether he will permanently be it, but Areola, I'm pretty sure it will be. If I can afford Raya, he's on my list.
I guess as well, you're not going to be. Are you not considering any kind of triple up at all then with Newcastle? With Arsenal, because again, we didn't see. Did Jesus come on today? Was he not in the squad?
Came off. Yeah, came on the bench.
Yeah.
I'm really against now just these players that get booked and will get booked because they do annoying things. Like the thing with Bruno, like all I've seen, I tweeted last night, but in the 7 games yesterday, there were 17 bookings in yellow in injury time, either end of first half, end of second half. That is absurd. 2.5 bookings per game in injury time. It's nonsense,
Yes.
but it's always the same people. Like they won't necessarily learn because they're not doing anything wrong. Maddison, every single challenge that went against him and everything that went against, he moans because that's what people do when things go against you.
Yeah.
Jesus, like he's a moaner. He's going to moan. Bruno's going to moan. And I'm like, there's only so many of these I can have in the team that are there. And at the moment, I can't do it. And I can't see a world where I do it. Saka's the interesting one because he's so wide. He's so wide. He just was never on it, but he's still chucking away on points. And we think he's on pens. He's putting loads of balls in. He's still getting decent XG. He's still paying his money at 8.5 million as a worthwhile asset. He's a decision on Wildcard because, as I said, you start getting a bit tight with the likes of Trippier, and if you go a more expensive keeper and so forth. I know a lot of people sold Saka this weekend, but I don't really want to sell Bukayo if I can't have to.
Fair enough.
You're selling Pickford though, I'm assuming.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah, mate, he's gone. He's fucked him off. Yeah. Look, I don't mind. I still don't mind the next 4 weeks for Everton. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, next 3. So Brentford, Luton, Bournemouth, good fixtures, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're on wildcard, just get rid of him. The time, it's gone. It's gone. And if they don't get any points in those next 3 weeks, I think Dyche could be gone. They'll have gone through their easy set of fixtures. If they don't get points,
yeah, they got to do it.
And I know Luke was saying last week that managers believe they can go into every game and win the game, etc. But if there's any game in these first 8 that you'd have gone, we're not winning that one, it's the Arsenal game. So fine, this is what it is. But
yeah,
at the first 8 to pick up what they got 1 point so far.
Yeah, and my understanding is the owners don't know anything about football, anything about football.
Which ones? What, the old owners or the new ones?
Both. yeah, and so therefore I feel like it's that also will be. Hold on, how many points on the table?
That's worrying. That's worrying. Yeah, I think that's just genuinely worrying for Evan.
I think he's in trouble.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Let's try and do this. Let me see if I can do this. So we're gonna basically take a quick break from the podcast. I'm gonna edit it, and that's probably a good thing because you've frozen for some reason. Are you still there, mate?
How has this happened again when it's a terrible pause on me? Are you doing this on purpose?
I'm not doing this on purpose, mate, at all. I'm not doing this at all. It's nothing to do with me, mate.
Outrageous.
It's nothing to do with me, mate.
Pause my face when it looks horrific.
I'm not doing anything, mate.
This is disgraceful.
I don't know what to do, mate. I don't know.
You're now trying to zoom in on my terrible looking face.
Mate, it's your internet. It's not mine. So shall I just get rid of you while I'm doing this?
Yes, just get rid of me.
I'm trying to find out where you are. Hold on. That one? There you go. You're gone for a minute. Hopefully you'll come back to me. Maybe just stop your video and then start it again. I don't know whether that's going to work. But I'm not stitching him up.
Did you literally tell me to turn it off and turn it on again? Is that literally what's happened?
I did.
Okay. Definitely turn it off. That is definitely stitched up.
I mean, look,
hey, it's moving.
You're back. Shock horror. Turn off, turn on again. It's back.
Never fails.
Never fails. Right now, so I need to find out where this one is now. So hopefully this is the right one. Yeah, I'm on the right thing here. And now I need to find the tweet. So last chance if you want to get a free mug. There's about 30 odd people that are getting a free mug. Well, not 30 people are getting a free mug. That's a lie. But there are 30 odd people that are going to be in the draw for a free mug. So just make sure you've retweeted this tweet.
FPL California has tried to influence the draw here by sending us a super chat and say thank you. And you and your show are fantastic. So yeah, let's not do the draw. Let's just give it to FPL California. I'm done.
He's going to get one anyway. It's fine. He's going to get one anyway. So yeah, so that's the tweet there. Time to go. So last chance to try and get that in. There's only going to be one winner.
Do it now. Do it now.
Okay, right. Let me load it one more time, and then we can go for it. Load the tweet one more time. There it is. Oh, it just keeps saying expired. It's just lying.
Go.
I'm trying. This is all going to be just edited out of the podcast, so don't worry. There are 100% of entries loaded. I don't know. There's 31 entries loaded, so hopefully that gets everyone. Continue this. Ready?
Yes.
Finalising draw. Okay, so special _ koozie. Let us know. Should I do more? Should I do 3?
Do 3. Let's do 3.
There's only supposed to be one winner, but I'll redraw it anyway. So Liam Weil and FPL White. Right, all 3 of you guys. Praz says he's never retweeting that thumbnail. You never get a fucking mug then, mate. Tough shit.
I can't believe you just said that to him, and he's bailed out me a load of times and not being honest.
Whatever, he knows I'm kidding him. He knows I'm kidding. So at Special Koozie, at LJW, Liam Weil, and FPL White, drop me a message, and we'll get you a mug, basically, and then yeah,
fair.
We'll do that. So back to the football.
We got messages while we're doing that of like, are we showing the wild card? Are we showing where we're at? I don't know if you've got one up on the screen or not, but we will definitely
absolutely not.
At least one pod this week, maybe 2.
What?
We're going to have to do at least 1, maybe 2 pod this week of updates of where we're at.
one mate works busy. One. I could do one. Mate, I'm doing another pod tomorrow. Just one.
We'll find time.
Cool. Right, I'm gonna have to find a hard cut now so that we can go back to the podcast. So I can cut this bit out. So moving on, we've got Tottenham versus Sheffield United. You were at the game.
Yeah.
Tell us about the day, mate. That's what people are here for, sort of.
I've got to say, right, obviously it's handball. I was all excited for it and all that stuff. Hence I ended up with, captain and triple Spurs and all the rest of it. And now needing to wild card out of it. And yeah, great. Fantastic. What a day. But the thing on Heckingbottom and moaning about the refs and so forth, look, if he hadn't moaned about it, I think I would have spent 5 minutes moaning about the refs performance, because it's, as a spectacle, currently the least you enjoy football being there. Watching every player, and as they go to moan about something that's very reasonable that's happened, and thinking, no, don't do that. Don't show emotion. Don't do this. Don't be people. That's weird. Like, they're obsessive about the time wasting. It was so weird in the first half. The first half, Fotheringham was just taking forever on every kick. He should have been booked within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous how long he was taking. And if he had been booked within 20 minutes, he'd have been off once that handball comes in. Yeah. So then he puts himself in a really weird position, and you're like, well, at least he can't do that time wasting anymore. So that part I can bottom moan about that is stupid, because like, he was already on a tightrope. It was last chance saloon. It's like moaning someone just kept fouling someone, and then like, oh God, he then couldn't go in for tackles anymore. Well, that's how it works, mate. You handballed it outside the area.
Yeah.
But everything, there's an obsession around this multi-ball thing. They won't show this on Match of the Day, but there's 2 ridiculous things where basically we had a corner and we took it short, but we used the multi-ball because they're on this directive of throw it in. But the crowd, because we've got this massive single tier, has thrown it from the top. It goes the old beach ball down, and it rolls onto the pitch by the time we've taken the short corner.
Yeah.
Now, because we still had the ball at that one first time, they immediately stop, and we had a drop ball which come back to us.
These were two.
So
yeah,
we
these
had
were
that
ridiculous.
the first time. Then it happened again, but at that second time it came when the ball entered the pitch, the ball was between the two players. So because we weren't in possession, they gave it back to the keeper next time.
It was the most horrific to see. I couldn't actually believe
like,
what I was seeing.
What is going on? This really weird world. So now we've got this thing where people can't take short corners in case another ball enters the pitch and then you lose it. I was like, oh my God, a whole thing felt ridiculous. And everyone was like, I don't understand why there's only 3 minutes in the first half, because it was non-stop time wasting and we had, people down injured and all the rest of it. And then you were like, well, he's going to add some more on in the second half. Like, it's going to be at least 10 minutes because he's got to make up for the fact that he didn't do it right. And of course he does. He then gives 12 minutes in the second half. Like, the same stuff happened in the second half as the first half. It was just nonsense. The whole thing was just, it was really hard. It was really hard to enjoy so many parts of the game because you were constantly looking at the ref and thinking, he doesn't know what he's doing. Just doesn't know what he's doing. And then obviously, by that point that Maddison should have had a penalty and all of that. And you're like, what? The officials just ruining it. Just ruining it. I genuinely came away thinking, partially, I wish we did just a football podcast and not an FPL podcast, because if we talked about this just from a football, we'd be like, we won 2-1, who gives a shit? But because it's FPL and therefore those things have such an impact on it, it's hard to speak about, what a great win, we got out of it in the end. It's hard.
It's even harder when actually the stuff that he's saying you actually agree with. Like, I mean, I said it in a tweet yesterday. I mean, it's not like he was going to talk about the Spurs' decisions. It's not his job to do that, right? But they made it look like he was just being a moaning bitch on Match of the Day and just made him look really bad.
Murphy calls it out on Match of the Day, which made him just look like a dick. This is the problem, though, is that because, the whole thing's systemic at the fact that we can't watch 3:00 games in the UK. Now, you know this because you somehow managed to watch a 3:00 game. God knows you must have left the country for the period of the afternoon. But therefore you saw the game, so you know all these things I'm talking about. And that's why people tune into us on a Sunday night, is because we watch as many of these games as possible. But most people can't do that. So they just watch Match of the Day and they see that little snippet of Heckingbottom moaning. And then they see Danny Murphy say, oh, he's moaning. They don't even see the penalty because they didn't even show it. And they think it's okay. And then nobody has to change. But it's just crap. So Ange mucked up in the game with Kulusevski and Solomon in a low block. That was a problem for Son. That was a real problem because there's no pace and both players want to come inside and both players want to get in the way and they're not stretching anyone, and it was an issue. And Ange mucked up in that he should have done something about it earlier. We were all calling for they needed some kind of pace, some kind of width out wide, and then they score. But how he redeemed it is, as I said, the whole crowd thought Kulusevski for Johnson was the obvious sub. And instead, he moves Kulusevski to the right 8, takes off Sarr, and Johnson and Kulusevski on that right side were lethal. Like, that was suddenly pain. So then they were crapping themselves. So then Perisic got loads of room out left. Richarlison pulled left. And then suddenly it was like, and Maddison went like wide left as well. Like, they literally split the seas on that side and stretched them out wide, and they were done. And we came through. Well played, Richie. What a header. That was such a good header.
Well, he's missed a couple of headers like that recently.
Yeah.
Like pre-season and whatever. So, I mean, yeah, and thank God we've got a manager that actually just talks like a normal human and just talks like a bloke. Like, he just talked about all the mental health stuff in the week. It's like, yeah, we've all got stuff going on and, it affects people in different ways, etc. Richie's had a bad, few moments recently or few weeks, and
they were all normal though. Like, genuinely, even Romero's weirdly normal. Like, Romero was telling people off every time they moaned at the ref. I was like, what is this world? But then, Son was just pushing Richarlison to the crowd at the end, which is just fantastic. Like, we're all like so tribal in the FPL world, where we're like, Fishy or Son, they must hate each other for the night,
Yeah.
Madison blanked, gets a 1-pointer, but he was the crowd pleaser. Everyone, like, I was genuinely like, just in love with the man. Came out in front, I took a picture of him, felt like he was looking at me. But the whole place is in a really likable place.
Yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing we did win that, because it wouldn't have been nice to see what had happened in the first few weeks of the season be kind of deflated.
Yeah.
I felt like it had been like a semi-burst balloon.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak high enough about Basuma. I don't know how it won't ever really show in highlights, but genuinely just unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. Like, you were like, oh God, we've lost some players to Real Madrid, and you watched him and you were like, there's the next Real Madrid man off. And he was just so insane.
It's fine. Like, Shumeni and Camavinga, they can just keep those two.
Yeah, I'm like,
let's keep
God, they've got those two. Thank God they've got those two. But he was just so ridiculously good. Like, that's a massive difference.
Yeah,
that's a massive difference. I mean, it's hard. It's we talk about, it's not easy on Ange that he loses Kane, but boy, getting Basuma, getting Van der Ven, like getting Maddison.
Right.
Jeez.
Let's I know some people hate a Spurs loving, so let's go FPL wise.
Yeah, but what are we gonna do about, like, Maddison and Son?
I think Son's a swerve for a couple of weeks.
If you didn't have Rashford, would you go Son to Rashford?
If I didn't have Rashford, would I go Son to Rashford?
This week?
Yeah, Burnley, and then who they got a week after that?
Oh, it's
Palace?
It's horrific. Yeah.
I mean, you could do that.
Yeah, Palace. Yeah, and then Brentford
and Sheffield United, and then come back in 11 for.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah. You wouldn't come back to Son at that point. You wouldn't come back to Son at that point. You just move away.
You can find another way, though. You can always find another way.
Nah, you go back. You go over to Odegaard, Martinelli at that point. Burnley, Brentford, Wolves, Luton for Arsenal.
It's weird, though, isn't it? Because we couldn't have spoke worse. I certainly couldn't have spoke worse about Man United, and I couldn't have just spoke more lovingly about Tottenham. But
fixtures, though, isn't it?
It's fixtures. It's fixtures, and the one thing we did talk about with Luke about what we don't know with Son is we don't know he plays 90 minutes. Yeah. Pochettino forever never played him for 90 minutes. Used to pull him off on 70, 75. We used to get so annoyed that he was never playing 90 minutes. And seems to be doing the same thing. I thought as soon as he got captaincy, he'd play 90 minutes, but he's not playing 90 minutes. So whenever you're looking at models and stuff at the moment, I've seen him last week. I mean, he's captain,
but he's brought off at 1-0 down. Like, he was brought off at 1-0 down. Now, obviously, something wasn't quite working specifically in this game, but being brought off at 1-0 down is not what you want.
No, he would have been much more suited in this game playing Solomon's role. He would have been much more suited playing on that left side. I don't have a big issue. If we're going to use Solomon that way on the left, you're like, we might as well have Son on the left. You might as well, because he'd be better.
I mean, Daz Sparky says, come off Son at your peril. Yeah, look, we're not saying that he's a bad asset or a bad striker. Like, we know he's a great finisher. And, we're all Spurs here, Sparky. So, yeah, we know. But, it's Rashford against Burnley or it's Son against Arsenal. I mean, you want it to be Son against Arsenal, really, don't you?
Of course we do.
Yeah,
of course we
want
do.
It to be.
Of course we do. But if people did move, no, I don't think it's the world's worst move.
No, it's fair enough. Fair enough.
It does depend a little bit about, you've got to still think there's good fixtures in 8 and 9. And how's the easy route back? That the yellow card thing really puts me off Maddison. It just genuinely does. It continually happened. If he was always in the box, but you feel like, well, if he's assisting everything and And he's just it's a bit like Bruno. He is working exceptionally hard for the team. Exceptionally hard for the team doesn't always mean points. Grealish has been like the most hardworking player for Man City, but that doesn't always equal points. Maddo's a bit different to that. He's definitely more attacking threat than the likes of Grealish, but don't underestimate how much he cares for the team win. Even if he does play FPL, which we know he does.
And he took out Richarlison.
And he did.
I guarantee Richie's giving him some shit for that.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
But yeah, it's a big decision for me this week. I think a wildcard Son versus Rash.
Well, I noticed the initial one that I sent you had Spurs in it. And the initial one that you sent me had no Spurs in it.
Had no Spurs in it.
Yeah. So there's different ways to do it. Right. Let's move on. Fulham versus Luton.
Here we go.
This is where we're going. Fulham Luton. Because, we've got a double game week coming up for Luton. Does this instill you with any confidence in having any of their players at all?
Well, you'd have Kabore. If you've got Kabore, you still have Kabore. You play him, whether he plays or not, because obviously Giles has been playing. I talked him up last week and then doesn't play. But you're like, there's still 3 wing backs for 2 places that can play both sides,
Yeah.
And stuff can happen, in that space. So I don't know if you do get him for 2, but for Kabore was brilliant. Like he was good. Like those, there was plenty of people that auto subbed or even had him instead of Estu and played him this week, and he was really good. He could easily have had an assist. He almost got himself a clean. Good stuff. Morris being taken off once they go 1-0 down at 70 minutes away at Fulham, fellow strugglers. Nah. Just
2 bad teams for me.
Nah.
They're just 2 bad teams. Just can't be asked with bad teams. Bad teams in double game weeks. Doesn't matter whether you have if it's crap, literally. Why would you want to do it twice?
When I saw after the thing, you check through SofaScore, you have a little look and looked at it, and I saw Morris subbed off 70 minutes. I checked the goal score time and was like, hold on, he got subbed off like 5 minutes. Like, it shrinks up inside you, mate. It says, I'm going to have to play with that. It shrinks up inside. Like,
fair enough.
That's just no.
That's the worst. The worst analogy we've had on here. Definitely the worst one.
That is a no. Move on.
Yeah. 1 shot, 0.1 XG. Yeah, leave that. Move on.
It felt a little bit better. The shot he did have felt a little bit better than 0.1 XG, but it still was like a near post snatch. Yeah. Nah.
Villa Palace.
How good was John Duran's goal?
Ridiculous. Like, just ridiculous.
And he almost did it just before.
The touch and just first time finish is just insane, man. It's just insane. Like, it was past. It was passing before he even knew it was there. It was just for the real
older generation. That was Tony Yeboah vibes in terms of like just an absolute.
Also, just say shout out to Sertout, by the way, who on a quick turnaround managed to find the data so that we could show the Villa Palace and the Spurs Sheffield United plots, because in both games goals went in so late that FootMob wasn't picking them up. At the time,
yeah, so he couldn't scrape the data as it was for these because the goals were too late for the Tottenham and Villa games.
He's sorted us out, so thanks as always, Sertout. And he said he was busy today as well. So, but yeah, I mean that Duran shot was just past Johnston before he'd even seen
Monster.
It. It's ridiculous.
So, the only people in the world that I consider to be really unlucky this season, people that own Eberechi Eze, because again, he was magnificent. And like, he just dodges points somehow. Every pass he does ends up with a dodge point. Every shot he does, the keeper does something amazing and stuff. Like, he should have had points again, and he gets booked and gets 1 point.
Yeah, it's just pain.
Mate, he has pain. Edouard. Like, taking loads of shots, scoring goals. Fantastic. This is the same deal with Villa, that they've scored 3 goals, none of which are Watkins. They scored 4 goals technically because one was offside. Yeah. None of which was that. The only assist you get from Watkins is the worst. Well, another just horrific penalty decision. Of man gets ball, then man gets ball again. Ref gets told man's got ball. Ref goes to monitor, looks at it, comes back, says, "Yeah, I'm still giving a penalty."
Yeah, I mean,
didn't listen.
I'm not as convinced he gets the ball first challenge.
Well, he touched the ball twice.
I'm not convinced that he gets the ball that first challenge, that first part of the challenge. The sweep of the leg afterwards, yeah, but he's taken him out before then.
They slowed it down. He touches the ball and then he touches the ball again.
Yeah, but
this is the point.
This is the thing. Anywhere on the pitch, like anywhere else on the pitch, right? And you get a small touch, like the fraction, it's like tiny stud touch, and you go through a player, it's a free kick. Like it's just a free kick. It just is. The fact that you can go and rewatch it again because it's a penalty doesn't change the fact that it's a free kick.
What kind of world is it though? Like, just even explain this as a world of what we work in, right? We're watching this on a telly, yeah?
Yeah.
And then we're making a decision. But what we're going to do is we're going to employ a multi-million-pound industry to go watch the games really, really closely with big cameras and look at these things. And what we're going to do is we're going to let you make a decision. Then we're going to watch it better than your eyes because we've got these big cameras and big things and we're looking at it. Then what we're going to do is ask you to run 50 yards across the pitch and look at it on a tiny monitor where you definitely can't see it as well as what we're seeing on this. And then you're still going to make your own decision. And that's what I'm like
I get it.
I get it on some, but that they've literally, the reason they've called him across is because it does touch the ball. And then he does touch the ball. So they've gone to him and said, yeah, but he does touch the ball first. And so therefore, like this. And that's kind of like the cool bit about what VAR should be. Like, there was in the cricket last week in England, New Zealand, there was a one down the leg side and Trent Boult goes up for it. And you're like, what is he even doing? It's a wide. He just appealed for it type things. But he's like, I think I nicked that. And the keeper says, nah. And he was like, no, I think he did. And they do it. And it's the tiniest of things. But the batsman's got to go because that's the rule. And this should be the same deal. The guy's won the ball and then he's really won the ball again. That's cool. That's like technology works. Use it.
I don't disagree with that. But then it starts getting to the point where we go back to 25, 30 years ago, where you can literally go through the ball and then through the man, and then it's absolutely fine. Whereas anywhere else on the pitch, that kind of aggressive challenge or anything like that is given us a free kick.
But because it doesn't get the scrutiny, so that's fine. But it is a penalty, which is a big like it's a massive thing to Villa. That penalty is huge. It's 1-1 from being 1-0 up, and then suddenly you get given that against you, and you end up losing 3-1. Like, if you're a Palace fan, you're pissed as fuck about that.
I think it was a penalty. I'm not agreeing with you on this. I think it was a penalty. I don't think he got the ball.
So we've now got a situation that Doug Luiz is definitely on pens, right? DRB was just ridiculous, mate. Like, he's like DRB. He's really interesting on Wildcard because the next few are not wonderful, but they're not terrible either.
Chelsea, Brighton, next two.
He just feels like an irresistible force to me. He feels like on Wildcard, like you just got to put him in.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can bench him the first week, or would you bench him against Chelsea?
You're not benching him against Chelsea. The Bournemouth cut him open at any opportunity. I am definitely playing him. DRB just looks the one in that team from the attack side. But Matty Cash, I said to you before we started, Matty Cash played like the £12 million midfielder that we're definitely going to put in on Wildcard. He was always in the box. He had 0.6 XG, which is more than basically anybody but Haaland this weekend. Like, Cash isn't the no-brainer of no-brainers. If you can get him in.
Yeah.
Has to be in. At 4.7, it's still just ridiculous. just constantly in the box. And we know they cross from the left. We know where it's Dina, Moreno, whoever it is, they cross on the bit. And this guy is playing right wing.
Like even
it's always been that way.
Like ever since Cash has made his way into the team Villa a few years ago, it's always been that. It's been Dean. Yeah, it's been Dean, and then it's been. Well, I say Moreno. Moreno's hardly played any games for him, really. But yeah, it's always been like Dina for the assist threat, Cash for the goal threat. It's always been that way.
The pain of Matt Cash is going to be that you're going to have to bench him occasionally because like these next two games are not perfect for him. But geez, mate, like he's just.
Well, he's going to get space in behind if you're going to play. I mean, unless Pochettino literally like reins in his fullbacks.
Which you don't mind because then he can attack them more. This is the bit that don't really make a lot of sense. He didn't want them to press. He like get up there and do it, but they weren't. I'm like Diaby and Cash. They've monopolised that right size. Watkins is more on the left a bit more, which also doesn't help Watkins. Is that the cross is coming from the left, but he's kind of hanging the left of the two of them.
Yeah.
So none of it helps him. Diaby and Cash. Cash is just lock on, and Diaby just feels tough to resist. Albeit on the other side, I don't think you can go particularly wrong with Eze either. Despite clearly Eze is going wrong for anybody that has him.
Yeah,
like just no points.
It's just mad unlucky.
He's been mad unlucky.
Cool. Anyone got any questions? We've been going. What are we going for now?
It's got to be long tonight.
125. 125. That's all right. That's good.
We've done okay.
We've had a little break in between and done a shot of Fireball and
it's whiskey.
I haven't actually been as angry as I thought I might be tonight. It's quite. I feel
that's
like
why we do this pod.
That's why we do this pod. Yeah, but I wasn't Praz. I was never not just hitting the button earlier. It just had to be done. You haven't hit the button yet, have you?
I haven't hit the button yet.
I knew it. I knew it when I saw your WhatsApp message and you've got like all the transfers are like marked in. You're like, yeah, this is what it could look like, but I'm not going to press the button. No,
I can't see a world that I don't do it. I can't because I just think that there's too many issues. There's too many issues that I just don't like, and if you don't like it, then move on. Ask in the chat, but Pete, what's the whiskey? So on a Sunday, what I quite like, if I've done well, I'll go more for the Scotch. If not, this is Bullet, so it's bourbon, so it's American style. Hence why I was allowed a load of ice in it. So if anyone saw one thought a load of ice and thought, oh, he's not doing that with Scotch. So yeah, it's American Kentucky bourbon.
Cool. Rob says, what are your thoughts for the North London derby?
I just want to enjoy it. I will enjoy
That's
it.
Impossible,
and I hope
mate.
I'll enjoy it.
You can't enjoy the game. You can't. It's not possible to enjoy the game. I don't think it's not physically. I don't think it's physically possible to enjoy the game.
The main thing is, I don't think they'll enjoy it as much.
That's a good thing.
I think. Whereas, I think that's the main deal. Is I'm not 100% sure they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, which I like.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
throw out a score prediction.
I don't want to play
now?
defenders. Tool.
Yeah, goals.
Yeah. I'd be surprised physically.
Yeah.
Fellas asks, why do you need Salah before Spurs away and Brighton away? The point is, you do not. And that's the whole thing about this. As I said at the start, you are not wildcarding to. This isn't a wild card. This isn't actually a particularly aggressive wild card, I would suggest, because I don't think you're necessarily bringing a load of people in that you're like, I've got to have those. You're definitely thinking, I've got some issues. And I think you're definitely thinking on it that if you don't wildcard Salah in, it's still very difficult to get there. So you do it because actually what you're doing is you're just bringing forward what you're about to do a bit earlier.
Yeah, you've frozen again, mate. Off and on.
How does it always happen in the same stupid pictures? I'm turning it off. Oh, That has actually worked.
Yes, it actually worked. It's funny that. So it's on your end, not mine. It's when you go downstairs, mate. It's when you go downstairs.
Was it downstairs the other night? It was downstairs the other night.
Was it?
No, it wasn't. I was upstairs.
You're
I was upstairs.
No, and I also think the midfielders as well. I think the midfielders, like, if you're looking at a short-term fix kind of target, what midfielders are you targeting? Maybe United, committing to come off them, but they're, you're not showing me anything at the moment, United. So whilst fixtures should be the play, we've probably got one United anyway. Newcastle. Yeah. I don't want any Newcastle midfielders, plus half of them are injured, so don't really need any of that. I've got Bumo from Brentford, so fine. And then what? You're talking like Chelsea got 2 away games. You got Forest midfielders, so you're talking Morgan, Gibbs, White. Everton, you fancy any of those? Just get Salah in. That's why like even now or whenever it is now, 7, 8, 9, just Salah's part of all of those wildcards.
It's Salah will whatever week I wildcard for the next 5-6 weeks, Salah will be in that wildcard. Whatever week I wildcard for the next few weeks, Haaland and Alvarez will be the forward line. That will happen.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, actually, I kind of know enough that I can move the rest around.
Yeah.
Alvarez is there for the season, but he's there for the season. The only thing that's a question mark potentially is whether he's there for game week 6. Because we might have to muck about for 3 weeks and get him in. But I suspect we'll have enough depth that you could actually even just bury him if you needed to for a week. If we found he wasn't playing.
Fair enough.
But it's slightly difficult because there is that double game week. So you're like a little bit like, maybe I just play the game with Morris.
Just get him and then come back. I mean, the thing is that you do that and then you come back to City and City have then got Arsenal, Brighton, United, Chelsea and Liverpool in 5 out of those 6 games.
But do you just not think, like as I said, if he's playing, whatever the fixtures are, they're scoring 2 goals minimum a game, probably doesn't score 3 City every game. Even if they're playing Arsenal, I still think they'll score 2-3 goals. Like, I'm not really that bothered about the fixtures that they're playing. I'm just bothered if he's playing or not. And if he's playing every week.
Yeah, okay.
Fantastic.
6.6 million, isn't he? So who cares?
6.7, maybe even 6.8. Yeah, we went up again last night.
Yeah. People are saying about Darwin. I mean, not
we're
yet.
Not there yet on it.
I think if we're seeing, I don't mind if, we were talking about this earlier and I was going to come in on it and you're saying if we're going to get like 55th, 60th minute substitutions, that is like a half-time substitution now with all the additional minutes that we're getting on top as well.
Yeah.
So that you're only ever going to record, that's going to really fuck up XG per 90 stats and stuff like that, isn't it?
It's just, all of it gets so much more difficult. Yeah, we'll do, yeah. It all gets more difficult as soon as you put Salah in your team. So Darwin's fine, but Darwin and Salah gets tough. Yeah. Because you're immediately like, oh, now I've got an extra million. Now I can't do this. Now I can't do that. Now I can't do this.
Yeah.
It becomes tougher. Yeah.
Do we really start Kabore in game week 7 over the likes of Chilwell, Estupiñán, Saliba, and Newcastle?
Yes. Probably, yes.
Newcastle defenders, no. I wouldn't start moving Newcastle defenders.
Yeah.
Probably the only ones I wouldn't. Brighton have got Villa. They'll concede. Chelsea have got Fulham. They'll probably concede.
Arsenal away to Bournemouth doesn't like. It's still not a great game, is it? It's not a great game for defenders. I know, obviously Chelsea kept clean today, but your defender you want is Saliba, and you're like, what are the chances that that's going to be the bonus hogging one?
Yeah,
Kabore is likely to get probably 4 points, maybe 3. That's what he gets, but he could get 10. He could get 12. And therefore, you'd probably think to myself, yeah, I'll just do that over the sleeper likes. On wildcard, it might get a bit more icky.
Yeah,
just need to play that through. But like you say, if you've got cash, they're away at Brighton. So that's not so great. And I probably would, I'd almost certainly have a Stupinan on that. We talked about Brighton earlier. Who do you have on Wildcard? A Stupinan. I think I still think I can just keep him there and play him out whenever I want him in game week 6, and then I'll want him as soon as the fixtures turn good again in a few weeks.
I'll just get him in game week 10. I'll just get him in game week 10.
Yeah.
To be honest, because Newcastle got Sheff Utd.
Money might make us do that. Money might make us do that.
Yeah. Cool. I think we are. Nez is asking questions. I don't know whether he's talking about our teams, but if you wanted to see our teams again, I mean, these are the scores that we had this week. Take a look over that while we close it out, I guess. Anything else you want to say, mate?
No, let's go, mate. Let's move. Yeah, we'll definitely be back at some point later in the week, at least once. You're saying once.
I'm saying once. Yeah, busy week, mate. Budgets and stuff to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thank you very much, everyone in the chat. People are asking about a mug. Someone's asking about a mug. How'd you get a mug? Well, occasionally we might give one away. We've got a few. We're getting some bits and bobs together with the logos on and stuff. So yeah, stay tuned. You can join the Patreon, join the top tier Patreon. They're going to be the ones that are going to get everything first. So apart from the 3 people who want a mug today, so this was kind of just a random one because we've had a bad week and we just want to make people feel better. So they'll be the ones that get the stuff first. So if you want to guarantee it, that's the way you get it. If not, then giveaways and stuff like that we'll figure out during the season. Hopefully you guys have had an okay game week. I mean, it's been a tough one all round, but you know, at the end of the day, it's just FPL. Hopefully you see it as just FPL, and then you get a chance to, you know, to hit the reset button, hit the wild card, and fuck it up all again next week, basically.
Perfect. Can't wait. And I do think that is also the thing, right? Every single week, whenever you do wild card, you are going to shit it, but it's going to be worse off because nobody's getting rid of. Well, maybe I'll get rid of some bad players because Nico Jackson, but but we're all we haven't just plucked the team out of the air. Like it wasn't like we were like, oh, we haven't thought about this team and now we're going to think about it. That is a risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Right. On the way out, guys, please like the stream. Please like the video. Make sure you hit subscribe if you want to see more from us. Heading up to 10K. And we will see you at least once later on this week. So,
cheers, mate.
I've put the fireball away now; it's gone. And yeah, we'll catch you all later. Cheers, mate.
Better go press that button.
Yeah, do it. Do it now.